Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast. Quick picks video for UFC 318. Dustin the Diamond Poirier taking on Max Blessed Holloway. And as always, I'm giving you a full card breakdown in 15 minutes or less. Rapid fire picks here with a confident level traffic light system at the bottom. And as always, if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button as we kick things off in the early prelim opener of Kari, Judis taking on Nicole, Kiari. And I'm going to ever so slightly lean to Kari Judis here. I think that the kicks here are going to be the deciding factor in this fight. Kiari mostly likes to use her boxing. She likes to get into the clinch and use judo. I think that she would be best served here to mix in takedowns. But ultimately, I think that the pressure, the kicks, and the volume here of Kari Judis are probably going to be what's going to get it done. I think she's going to have a tough time dealing with the reach advantage here that Kari Judis possesses. And I think that staying at range here and using her kicks are going to serve her well. Obviously, women's MMA can be tricky, so not the confident pick here that I'd like to go with, but I do feel good here that Kari Judis picks up the victory using her kicks, using her striking to kick things off in the prelims. And next up, we have Jackson McVey taking on Bruno Ferrer. And McVey stepping in on short notice here, replacing Ikram Askarov. And give me Bruno Ferrer, man. I think the Hulk gets it done here. Confident level pick. He likes to swing wild overhands. He is the shorter fighter in most of his matchups here at middleweight. But he does a fantastic job of mixing in the grappling, mixing in his judo black belt. And I think here with McVey, obviously making his UFC debut, he is very aggressive early in round one, but he's never been outside that first round. I don't think that he's going to be able to just run through a guy like Bruno Ferreira here. I think that Ferreira is going to be able to be the higher level guy throughout wherever this fight takes place. On the feet, he's going to be more measured. We know he's got the better cardio. We know that he's been 3 rounds. We know that Ferreira has power in the hands, and we also know that he can get it done on the ground, just like he did in his last fight with the arm bar. So give me Ferreira here to get it done. Confidence pick here. I think that he gets it done against the UFC debutant in Jackson McVey. And next up, we have Ryan Superman Spann taking on Lucas Dresky. And I'm going to go with Spann here, but only a slight lean. Obviously, Spann's not looked good since moving up to heavyweight. He looked like an absolute shadow of himself in his last fight against Salsa Boy. And Dresky just isn't UFC level. This is a tale of 2 very low-level UFC heavyweights. But I just think that Ryan Spann, like I say in every one of his breakdowns, that he has all the talent in the world. He has all the skills, the athleticism that he needs to win fights. He's a very good hammer, but not a very good nail. But I just think that Dresky just doesn't really have the skills here to give Spann too much of a problem on the feet. I think that Spann can do what he does when he gets his victories and run through Dresky with the striking. And if he is able to find that neck, he does have a nice guillotine as well if there's some sort of grappling or scrambling exchange here. I like Spann to get this one done inside the distance, but not confident as both guys who can be confident in a Ryan Spann fight currently in 2025. But obviously, Dresky just doesn't possess the skills here. But who knows? Maybe Spann doesn't show up and he's another former shadow of himself. I'm going with Spann, slight lean. And next up, we have Jimmy Croo taking on Martian Pragnio. And Pragnio, 37 years old, karate style, striking. A little bit of a wild man. And he's shown in his last fight that he can't defend takedowns. And he's pretty much just a fish out of water when it comes to the grappling. And Jimmy Croo is very high level on the ground. I'm not necessarily that confident in Croo, only because of the fact that he has drawn 2 of his last 5 and lost the other 3. So he needs to get back in the win column here. Croo, on the feet, he is very powerful, but he is a little bit stiff, I want to say, a little bit plodding on the feet. He tends to keep a high guard, and where he really shines is just to get the fight to the ground. So I would think that Croo would be a bigger favorite here. I'd be more confident in him if he did come out early and look for takedowns. I think he could find the submission early in round 1 if he comes out and fights smart here. Just because of the fact that he needs to get back in the win column, I think he does that. However, until he proves to me that he can get back in that win column, I'm not going to be super confident. But this would be a yellow traffic light here if I knew that Croo was going to come out and definitely grapple. He'll find the submission in the first round. That's what I'm going with. Give me Jimmy Croo to get it done. And next up, we have Adam Fugit taking on Islam Dumlattov. And I'm going with Dumlattov here, UFC debutant. But Fugit, 36 years old. He's been finished in most of his losses. I think that Islam, the 6'3", model here out of Vogue. He's not just a model. This guy can strike. This guy's got nice front chokes as well. But I think that the hand speed is just going to be too much here for Fugit. The nice 1-2 of Islam Dumlattov here is going to find the chin of Fugit. I think he finds the knockout here. He has been to a decision once inside his amateur career. However, most of his fights do end inside the distance. So as long as Islam Dumlattov doesn't come in here and kind of gas out from trying to get the finish here against Fugit, I think he'll be just fine. I think that the range, the length, the reach, and overall the hand speed here is going to be all it takes to get it done with the striking for Dumlattov. So confident level pick here for Islam Dumlattov to get it done against Adam Fugit. And next up, we have Atemba Gutier taking on Robert Valentine. And give me Gutier here, man. I think that the striking, the power, I call him Baby Francis because he reminds me of Ngannou. But one thing he doesn't share with Ngannou is he's much more measured on the feet, much more technical. He stays very composed. And to me, with Robert Valentine, he stands very tall. Sometimes leaves his chin up in the air. And I think that Gutier can find that chin here. I wouldn't be surprised if Valentine comes in and looks to grapple. But Gutier over at Manchester Top Team, I'm sure that he's got good takedown defense, and I think that he finds the chin here. Confident level picking Gutier to find the knockout here. And next up, we have Francisco Prado taking on Nikolai Vetnikov. And I'm going to go with Prado here, even though 23 years old, moved over to American Top Team. I think that gym will do him wonders as a youngster, still, learning and growing. I think that he could show vast improvements in this fight against the 36, 37-year-old Nikolai. Doesn't have very good takedown defense, Nikolai. Also very slow and plodding on the feet. I think if Prado comes out here and mixes in the takedowns, he'd have a lot of success finding the submission. All 12 of his wins coming inside of the distance, 6 by knockout, 6 by submission. I think if he finds the ground and pound here or the submission, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Prado should come in here and grapple. If this ends up being a back and forth striking affair, I think Prado could make this one a lot closer than it should be. But I like Prado to get it done here inside the distance against an older Nikolai. And next up, we have Marvin Vtori taking on Brandon Allen. Give me Vtori, man. There's no way he should be the underdog in this matchup. Brandon Allen, obviously very skilled on the ground. He's a little bit of a BJJ nerd. Obviously, going back and forth with Chris Curtis in his previous fight. And to me, I just think that Vtori is just a little bit more of a bully. He can mix in wrestling if he wants to. He has volume on the feet. He likes to score points when it comes to the jab and the low kick, always keeping the judges in mind the fact that he's obviously winning the fight with more volume. Obviously, Marvin has also got a lot of 5-round experience, so 3 rounds here. He can really up the volume. He can mix in the wrestling, and I like it wherever this fight goes. The only way that I see Allen being able to win this fight is finding a submission or controlling Vtori for long periods of this fight, which we've seen in the past. You can't take Vtori down and you can't knock him out. So give me the Italian dream here, Marvin Vtori, to get it done. I like him this week. He is going to be the dog of the week. And next up, we have Kyler Phillips taking on Venicius Olivea. And give me Olivea, man. This guy, Muay Thai striker, obviously likes to really stalk his opponents on the feet. Does a fantastic job of lighting up the low calf kick, which is going to be a great weapon in this fight against a guy like Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips likes to dance around on the outside. He will mix in wrestling if he needs to. But to me, this is going to be a tough out for Kyler Phillips. Olivea, he showed in his last fight against Said Nurmagomedov that he can really pressure a guy who throws a lot of spinning kicks and it's very light on his feet and fights on the outside. He can obviously mix in wrestling if he needs to. I think wherever this fight goes, Olivea is going to be one step ahead. He's also got 10 fights ahead of Phillips on his professional career, so a little bit more experience. I like this fight wherever Olivea wants to take it. And I think if this fight does stay on the feet, I think Phillips is going to get his calf eaten up and chewed up, which is going to set up the hands for Olivea and really slow down the movement of Kyler Phillips here. So give me Olivea, medium level confidence to get it done. And next up, we have Michael Johnson taking on Daniel Zellhuber, and I think that this is just a passing of the guard. A real sort of old veteran taking on a new up-and-comer, and Daniel Zellhuber, kickboxer style, very tall for the weight class, mixes in the takedowns as well if he needs to, has nice front chokes with the long limbs, but I think that really this one just comes down to, can Michael Johnson's chin hold up? I don't think it will. I think Zellhuber will mix in the kicks. I think his long, straight shots will be able to find the chin here of Michael Johnson. Give me Zellhuber to find the knockout here on the UFC veteran. And it's a shame. I do like Michael Johnson, but I just think this is a big step up in competition for Michael Johnson. And I also think that Daniel Zellhuber, this is a big step down for him. So it's going to be boxing versus kickboxing. Give me the kickboxer to get it done here inside the distance. And next up, we have Dan Ige taking on Patricio Pitbull. And this one's tough because I do think that Pitbull can light up the calf here of Dan Ige using the boxing heavy stance that Dan Ige has. I do think that's going to get his calf chewed up, but Dan Ige, I would say, probably has the power and the speed advantage here. He had a very back and forth fight with Lerone Murphy, who's obviously ascended the rankings and is going to be heading for a title shot soon. Pitbull, obviously 38 at this point, a lighter weight class, can obviously be a little bit concerning. One of these Bellator guys come over to the UFC, I think they kind of get exposed. We saw that with Patchy Mix recently. But to me, I just think the boxing of Dan Ige is going to find the chin here of Pitbull. But I do think that Dan Ige at times can, kind of just leave a little bit to be desired. He's not been able to kind of get over the hump against higher level guys. Pitbull will be hungry for a win here. But I do think that Dan Ige is going to win this one with his power and with his boxing, stalking Pitbull on the feet. He's also got a 6-inch reach advantage here, even though they are a very similar height. So give me Dan Ige, slight lean here to get it done. And next up, we have Daniel Rodriguez taking on Kevin Trailblazer Holland. Give me Kevin Holland, man. I think he looks good here since coming back to welterweight. He's taking his career a little bit more serious. And we know that Daniel Rodriguez isn't going to want to mix in the takedowns. Kevin does a much better job of defending the takedowns here at this weight class. Kevin's going to be the longer, faster striker. He can mix in the kicks. And I do think here that he could also find the submission with his long limbs. We've seen in the past before that he's got very nice Darce chokes. He's great off of his back. And to me, Daniel Rodriguez is a guy obviously who has decent boxing, but I think he's just going to really struggle to get on the inside here of Kevin Holland, struggle with the range of Kevin Holland, and really just be swinging at air while Kevin Holland counters here. So give me Kevin Holland. I feel confident in him to get it done, but obviously Kevin Holland has spoiled the apple cart before when we've picked him as a confident favorite here, but I do think Kevin Holland gets it done this week. And next up, we have Roman Coppelov taking on Paulo Costa. And to me, I think Roman Coppelov can win this fight wherever it goes. I think he wins probably by decision here, medium-level confidence. Paulo Costa's not looked the same since that Israel Adesanya knockout. He tends to throw one shot at a time. He can be very low volume on the feet. He'll blast kicks from the outside. But Coppelov does a fantastic job of mixing in takedowns. He'll also throw in combinations, so he'll get up on the strike numbers here. He'll go to the body and the head. I like this fight wherever it goes for Coppelov. I just think that Costa just really isn't the same Paulo Costa that we've seen in the past. Give me Roman Coppelov here. Unanimous decision with the striking, maybe even mixing in some wrestling. And next up, we have the main event for UFC 318, Dustin the Diamond Poirier taking on Max Blessed Holloway. And I'm going to ever so slightly lean to Max Holloway here. I don't really trust Dustin Poirier saying that he's obviously going to retire after this fight. I think his head might be out of the door. I think Max is going to be motivated to get back in the win column after that Ilia Topuria knockout loss. He's looked good at 155. I think both guys have the skill set to be able to beat one another. Obviously, Dustin beat Max in the first 2 fights. So Max, again, is going to want to get back that rivalry here against Dustin to get back in the win column as well. I can trust Max with the 3-year age discrepancy here, that he's obviously got a little bit more in his career, whereas obviously Dustin's head is thinking about retirement, thinking about spending time with his family. I do think if it gets to the ground that Dustin's going to be a little bit more advanced than Max Holloway. I don't think that Dustin's going to mix in the grappling. I think this is going to be a back and forth boxing affair. Give me Max Holloway here to win with the volume, win with the hands, and just want that revenge and get back in the win column after losing to Dustin and also obviously losing to Ilia Topuria with that knockout loss. And I have to let you guys know what's coming on the channel. We have the dog of the week, my favorite betting underdog for UFC 318. Full highlight reel video in that one. And as always, we've got the full card breakdown for UFC 318. Dustin taking on Max Holloway. Carlos and I do a detailed breakdown of this entire card. If that one you like a little bit more detail, that one is for you. And we have PFL Africa, the full card breakdown live on the channel. And as always, if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace!